The world of organized crime has witnessed extraordinary individuals who, despite their tender age, became entangled in the dangerous web of mafia business. From the bustling streets of New York to the sun-soaked alleys of Sicily, these young prodigies shocked the world with their audacity and fearlessness. Brace yourself for a jaw-dropping exploration of the dark underbelly of the mafia world, where youth and ruthlessness collide. Let's dive into the shocking tales of the youngest mafia members in history. Joseph Banano. Joe Banano, born Giuseppe Carlo Banano on January 18, 1905 in Castellammare del Golfo, Sicily, Italy, was the son of Salvatore Grano, a prominent mafia boss. In 1908, when Joe was just 3 years old, Salvatore brought his family to America, settling in New York City. However, in 1912, the Bananos returned to Sicily, where tragedy struck. Joe's father passed away from a heart attack when he was 11, and 5 years later his mother, Catherine, also died. As the sole heir, Joe inherited his family's fortune as a teenager. At 17, he moved to Palermo, Sicily, with aspirations of attending college and becoming a naval officer. In December 1924, Joe Banano arrived in New York City during the Prohibition era. Bootlegging and illegal alcohol sales were thriving, providing lucrative opportunities for young men like Joe. Settling in a Brooklyn neighborhood populated by fellow immigrants from Castellammare del Golfo, Joe found himself in the presence of Salvatore Maranzano, a respected figure in the New York underworld. Salvatore recognized Joe's potential and entrusted him with the management of his bootlegging operations. Joe proved to be a natural leader, demonstrating intelligence and toughness in handling the business. By 1930, at the age of 25, Joe had become Salvatore's chief lieutenant and most trusted aide. However, Joe's true test came during the Castellammarese War, a conflict between Salvatore Maranzano and Joe the Boss Masseria, the most powerful crime figure in New York. The Castellammarese War was a violent conflict that erupted in the streets of New York, reigniting an old Sicilian feud. Masseria sought to consolidate his power and control over the various factions within the Castellammarese. In a surprising turn of events, Joe's rival, Charles "Lucky" Luciano, orchestrated the assassination of Joe Masseria, leading to a new era in the New York Mafia. Salvatore Maranzano proposed a syndicate of mafia families, with himself as the head. Recognizing Maranzano's hunger for power, Luciano and other leaders had him assassinated. Rather than seeking revenge, Joe Banano chose to make peace with Lucky Luciano, a decision that would shape his future. This peace agreement resulted in the transfer of Maranzano's mafia gang to Joe Bonanno, making him a mafia boss at the young age of 26. Joe Bonanno's rise to power as a mafia boss was marked by his involvement in the creation of the Commission, a governing body that aimed to maintain peace among the mafia families. This council consisted of bosses from the 5 families of the New York Mafia, as well as the heads of the Chicago Outfit and Buffalo crime family. Despite his youth and relative lack of practical experience, Bonanno commanded respect and fear from his men. As the head of the Bonanno family, Joe emphasized traditional Sicilian values such as blood ties, respect, and loyalty. He ruled his mafia family with a strong sense of authority, often likening himself to a father figure. While not known for being excessively bloodthirsty, Joe still commanded fear and respect within the criminal underworld. Under Joe Bonanno's leadership, the Banano family engaged in various illegal activities, including extortion, racketeering, and drug trafficking. These criminal enterprises further solidified Joe's status as one of the most powerful mafia bosses in America. Despite a life marked by bloody gang wars, Joe Banano lived until the age of 97, outliving most of his peers and leaving behind a legacy that continues to fascinate to this day. Salvatore Grano. Salvatore Grano was born on March 12, 1945, in the tight-knit neighborhood of Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. His parents, both originally from Sicily, ran a successful dress manufacturing business, which allowed them to enjoy a comfortable life, even owning a summer cottage on Long Island. However, Salvatore's early life was far from idyllic. He suffered from severe dyslexia, a learning disability that went undetected by his teachers. This led to him being held back in 4th grade, an experience that brought humiliation and frustration. In response, Salvatore often resorted to violence, earning him the nickname the Bull after a fight with 2 older boys over his bike. Seeking a sense of belonging, Salvatore joined a youth gang called the Rampers. Together, they engaged in burglaries and car thefts, venturing into a life of crime at a young age. His rebellious nature led to his expulsion from high school and eventually being sent to a school for troubled youth. On his 16th birthday, Salvatore signed out, ready to face the world on his own terms. It wasn't long before Salvatore's criminal activities caught the attention of law enforcement. He had several run-ins with the law, including assaulting a police officer and being apprehended during an attempted burglary. In 1964, Salvatore was drafted into the military and received an honorable discharge after being promoted to corporal. Little did he know that his life would take a dramatic turn upon his return to civilian life. In 1968, Salvatore was approached by Shorty Sparrow, an associate of the Colombo crime family. This This encounter would mark the beginning of Salvatore's journey into the world of organized crime. In 1970, Salvatore was asked for the first time to commit murder on behalf of the Cosa Nostra. This marked a significant turning point in his criminal career, solidifying his involvement in the world of organized crime. Salvatore's desire to go legitimate while maintaining his ties to the criminal underworld would shape his future endeavors. It was through his association with Salvatore Toto Aurello's crew that Salvatore Grano found his place within the Gambino crime family. His loyalty, business acumen, and ability to generate significant income for the family caught the attention of the Gambino family's boss, Paul Castellano. He became an official captain, entrusted with overseeing a crew of his own. Grano's rise to power coincided with a pivotal moment in the history of the Gambino family. In 1985, John Gotti, a charismatic and ambitious member of the family, orchestrated a daring move to remove Paul Castellano as the boss. Grano found himself at the center of this power struggle as he was approached by Angelo Rugero, a close friend of John Gotti's, about the plot to overthrow Castellano. Grano, along with Frank DeSico, another influential member of the Gambino family, agreed to side with Gotti and Rugero with the intention of possibly removing them after 1 year if they didn't live up to expectations. The plan was set into motion on a cold December night in 1985. Grano played a key role in the execution of Paul Castellano, orchestrating the murder alongside John Gotti, Angelo Rugero, Frank DeSico, and Joseph Armone. This audacious act sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld and solidified Gotti's position as the new boss of the Gambino family. With Gotti at the helm, Grano's influence within the family grew even stronger. He was elevated to the position of captain, responsible for overseeing a crew of his own. Grano's loyalty, business acumen, and ability to generate significant income for the family made him a valuable asset in Gotti's inner circle. In 1987, Grano's position within the Gambino family reached new heights as he became the consigliere, a trusted advisor to Gotti, John Gotti. In the gritty streets of the South Bronx, a young boy named John Gotti was born into a world of struggle and hardship on October 27, 1940. He was the fifth of 13 children born to John and Fanny Gotti, both children of Italian immigrants. Growing up in poverty, Gotti quickly learned that survival meant taking matters into his own hands. As a teenager, Gotti found himself drawn to the allure of the streets. In the East New York section of Brooklyn, he became a leader of a local gang, navigating the treacherous world of organized crime. It was during this time that he caught the attention of the Gambino crime family, one of New York City's notorious five families. Dropping out of high school, Gotti fully embraced a life of crime. He engaged in petty crimes and frequently clashed with the law. Between the ages of 18 and 26, he was arrested 9 times, a testament to his audacious and rebellious nature. But it was in 1968 that Gotti's criminal activities took a more serious turn. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, apprehended Gotti on charges of truck hijacking and cargo theft. Facing the prospect of a lengthy prison sentence, Gotti pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 3 years behind bars. Little did anyone know that this would be just the beginning of his criminal journey. While serving his sentence, Gotti's manipulative and cunning nature became evident. He allegedly bribed prison officials and guards, granting him privileges that were unheard of for an inmate. Gotti would leave the confines of the Greenhaven Correctional Facility in upstate New York to meet with other mobsters at New York City restaurants, and even visit his home in the Howard Beach section of Queens. It was clear that Gotti was not your average prisoner. Upon his release in 1977, Gotti wasted no time in making his mark on the criminal underworld. Unlike many of his contemporaries, he didn't shy away from the public eye. In fact, he relished in his role as a celebrity gangster, earning him the nickname Dapper Don. He embraced the spotlight, granting interviews and attending high-profile events, further fueling his notoriety. Gotti's flamboyant lifestyle and outspoken personality earned him both admiration and criticism. Some saw him as a symbol of power and success, a modern-day Robin Hood who defied the system. Others viewed him as a ruthless criminal, responsible for the violence and destruction that plagued the streets of New York City. But his luck would eventually run out. In the early 1990s, the FBI, determined to bring Gotti to justice, launched an extensive eavesdropping operation. Secret recordings captured Gotti discussing criminal activities, providing the evidence needed to build a case against him. The walls were closing in on the Teflon Don. In 1992, Gotti faced trial on charges of racketeering and murder. Gotti was found guilty on all counts, including the murder of Paul Castellano. Gotti's leadership of the Gambino crime family was marked by a combination of ruthlessness and charisma. He ruled with an iron fist, demanding loyalty and respect from his subordinates. Those who crossed him or posed a threat to his power faced dire consequences. Gotti's reign was characterized by violence, intimidation, and a relentless pursuit of wealth and control. Under his command, the Gambino family engaged in a wide range of criminal activities, including drug trafficking, loan sharking, and illegal gambling. Gotti's influence extended beyond the boundaries of New York City, reaching into into various industries and territories. His criminal empire was vast and far-reaching, leaving an indelible mark on the American Mafia. But Gotti's reign eventually came to an end. In 1992, he was convicted on multiple criminal counts, including murder and racketeering. The trial, which captivated the nation, exposed the inner workings of the Gambino crime family and shattered the myth of Gotti's invincibility. His conviction sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld, serving as a stark reminder that even the most powerful figures could be brought down by the long arm of the law. Gotti's absence left a void that was difficult to fill, and the family's influence began to wane. However, Gotti's impact on the American Mafia extended beyond his own family. Gotti's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the allure and consequences of a life steeped in crime. His legacy continues to captivate and intrigue, serving as a reminder of the dark underbelly that exists beneath the surface of society. The Teflon Don's name lives on, forever etched in the annals of organized crime history. Giani Nini, born on February 16, 1981 in Turin, Italy, seemed destined for a life of crime from the very beginning. Growing up in a family deeply entrenched in the Sicilian Mafia, Nini was exposed to the dark underbelly of organized crime from a young age. His father, Luigi Nini, was a notorious mafioso serving a life sentence, and it was within this environment that Giani Nini's criminal journey began. As a child, Nini was known as U Picciutedu, or the Little Soldier, a nickname that would foreshadow his future role within Cosa Nostra. Despite his tender age, Nini displayed a remarkable aptitude for the ways of the Mafia, quickly earning the respect of his peers and superiors. It was clear that he possessed a natural talent for navigating the treacherous world of organized crime. Nini's rise through the ranks of Cosa Nostra began when he assumed the position of regent of the Pagliarelli Mandamento. This position of power and influence was bestowed upon him after the arrest of his godfather, Antonio Rotolo, in 2006. At just 25 years old, Nini found himself thrust into a position of authority, commanding the loyalty and obedience of those under his command. But Nini's ascent to power did not come without its challenges. As a young and ambitious mafioso, he faced constant scrutiny from law enforcement agencies who were determined to bring him down. In 2006, Nini's name appeared on the most wanted list of the Italian Ministry of the Interior, marking him as a high-priority target for capture. Despite the constant threat of arrest, Nini managed to elude law enforcement and establish himself as a force to be reckoned with within Cosa Nostra. His young age and audacious demeanor only served to enhance his reputation among his criminal peers. Nini was seen as a rising star within the organization, someone with the potential to lead Cosa Nostra into a new era. In 2009, Nini's criminal activities took him across the Atlantic to the United States. He was sent by his godfather, Antonio Rotolo, to investigate the links between the Sicilian Mafia and the powerful Gambino family, specifically focusing on Frank Colli. This mission was a testament to Nini's growing influence within Cosa Nostra, as he was entrusted with such a crucial and delicate task. His reputation as a formidable and ambitious mafioso grew, and he was seen as a potential leader of the organization. However, Nini's criminal activities eventually caught up with him. In 2008, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for his involvement in drug trafficking. Additionally, he was indicted in Operation Old Bridge, a joint operation targeting the Gambino family in New York. The impact of his arrest reverberated throughout Cosa Nostra, leaving a void in the criminal empire he had built. Nini's capture was a significant blow to his criminal associates and the Sicilian Mafia as a whole. It was a stark reminder that even the most cunning and elusive criminals could be brought to justice. Michael Franzese. Growing up in the tough streets of Brooklyn, Michael Franzese was no stranger to the allure of the Mafia. Surrounded by notorious mobsters, he was drawn into a world of violence and power from a young age. As he witnessed the influence and wealth that came with being a part of the Colombo crime family, Franzese became determined to make a name for himself. In the early 1980s, Franzese found his calling in the world of gasoline bootlegging. Exploiting loopholes in the system, he defrauded the federal government out of millions of dollars in gasoline taxes. This illegal operation not only brought him immense wealth, but also catapulted him into the upper echelons of the Mafia. With his newfound power and influence, Franzese commanded respect and fear from both his allies and enemies. He became a force to be reckoned with as his empire expanded and his reputation grew. The young Mafia member had risen through the ranks at an unprecedented pace, solidifying his position as one of the most powerful figures in organized crime. However, as the saying goes, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Michael Franzese's empire was not without its consequences. In 1986, his world came crashing down when he was sentenced to 10 years in prison on conspiracy charges. It was a stunning blow to the young Mafia member who had seemingly reached the pinnacle of success. Behind bars, Franzese faced the harsh realities of his actions and the consequences of his choices. It was during this time that he began to reflect on his life and contemplate a different path. The allure of the Mafia had lost its grip on him, and he yearned for a chance at redemption. After his release from prison in 1994, Francese made a life-altering decision. He chose to retire from the mob and turn his back on a life of crime. It was a bold move that few could have anticipated, but Francese was determined to leave his criminal past behind. With his newfound freedom, Francese embarked on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. He became a motivational speaker and writer, using his experiences to inspire others and shed light on the dark world he once belonged to. Today, he resides in California with his wife and children, using his platform to spread a message of hope and redemption. Today, Michael Francese's legacy extends far beyond his days in the Mafia. He has become a beacon of hope for those seeking redemption and transformation. Through his words and actions, he reminds us that it is never too late to change, to break free from the chains of our past, and to create a better future. The story of Michael Francese is a tale that shocks and captivates. From his early involvement in organized crime to his rise to power and subsequent downfall, Francese's life is a testament to the allure and dangers of the Mafia. However, it is his journey towards redemption and transformation that truly sets him apart. Angelo Rugero. Angelo Rugero, born in 1940, was a member of the notorious Gambino crime family and a close associate of the infamous John Gotti. Growing up in poverty in Brooklyn, Rugero, along with his childhood friends Gotti and Sammy Gravano, embarked on a life of crime from a young age. Engaging in activities such as street fighting, theft, and drug trafficking, Rugero quickly made a name for himself. In the 1970s, he became a made man in the Gambino family, rising to the rank of caporegime under Gotti's leadership. Known for his unpredictable and violent behavior, Rugero was considered a psychopath by the FBI. However, his downfall came as a result of his habit of openly discussing his criminal activities, which ultimately led to his demise. Angelo Rugero and John Gotti's early years. Angelo Rugero and John Gotti, two names that would become synonymous with the New York Mafia, had humble beginnings in the streets of Brooklyn. Born in 1940, both men grew up in poverty, navigating the tough neighborhoods of East New York. Their paths would intertwine, leading them down a dangerous and criminal path. Rugero, in particular, had a reputation for his hot temper and willingness to engage in physical altercations. As they continued to commit crimes together, Rugero and Gotti caught the attention of the Gambino crime family, one of the most powerful and notorious mafia organizations in New York. In 1973, they were given an assignment that would prove their loyalty to the family and solidify their positions within its ranks. Their task was to eliminate a local Irish gangster named James McBratney, who had made the grave mistake of attempting to kidnap a member of the Gambino family. Gotti and Rugero tracked McBratney down to a bar in Staten Island. When McBratney refused to leave with them, they gunned him down in cold blood right where he stood. The two fled the scene, but their actions would not go unnoticed. They were eventually caught by authorities and convicted of manslaughter. However, their time behind bars would be short-lived, as they were released on parole just a few years later in 1977. With their release, Gotti and Rugero were officially inducted into the Gambino family, solidifying their positions as made men. They had proven their loyalty through bloodshed, and now they were ready to climb the ranks of the Mafia. But trouble was brewing within the family. The new leader of the Gambino family, Paul Castellano, had made it clear that he did not want his men involved in the drug trade. This posed a significant problem for Gotti and Rugero, as they were already deeply entrenched in the world of drug trafficking. While many would have heeded Castellano's warning and kept their criminal activities under wraps, Rugero was not one to shy away from speaking his mind. He openly expressed his disdain for Castellano and other senior leaders of the Gambino family, even going so far as to discuss his criminal operations without hesitation. Ruggiero's loose lips would prove to be a double-edged sword. On one hand, his uncle, Agnello Della Croce, who held a high-ranking position within the Gambino family, was able to protect him from the consequences of his actions. On the other hand, Ruggiero's conversations were being recorded by law enforcement, providing them with valuable evidence to bring down the higher-ups of the Gambino family. The tension between Rugero and Castellano continued to escalate, and it became clear that something had to give. In December 1985, John Gotti made a bold move that would forever change the course of the Gambino family. Acting on Gotti's orders, gunmen murdered Castellano as he left a New York restaurant. Ruggiero, waiting nearby with the backup team of shooters, was never called into action. With Castellano out of the picture, Gotti assumed leadership of the Gambino family, and Ruggiero remained by his side as a trusted associate. Their bond had been forged through years of criminal activities and shared experiences, and they were ready to take the Mafia world by storm. Under the leadership of John Gotti, Angelo Ruggero's position within the Gambino crime family soared to new heights. As a caporegime, Ruggiero held significant power and influence, overseeing a crew of loyal soldiers and orchestrating various criminal activities. However, his violent behavior behavior and deteriorating relationship with Gotti would ultimately lead to his downfall. Ruggiero's reputation for unpredictability and brutality was well known within the underworld. Ruggiero's fall from grace was swift and brutal. He went from being a powerful caporegime to a mere outsider, no longer trusted or respected within the Gambino family. In 1989, Angelo Rugero's life took another tragic turn when he was diagnosed with cancer. The disease ravaged his body, leaving him weak and vulnerable. On December 5, 1989, Ruggiero succumbed to his illness, passing away at the age of 49. Liborio Bellomo. In the gritty streets of New York City, a young boy named Liborio Salvatore Bellomo was born on January 8, 1957. Little did anyone know that this seemingly ordinary child would grow up to become one of the most feared and influential figures in the American Mafia. Bellomo's roots can be traced back to Corleone, Sicily, a place infamous for its deep connections to organized crime. It was here that he inherited a legacy of secrecy, loyalty, and ruthlessness. As he came of age, Bellomo found himself drawn to the allure of the criminal underworld. In the late 1970s, Bellomo's path took a fateful turn when he became a made member of the Genovese crime family. This powerful and notorious organization had its roots deeply embedded in the fabric of New York City's criminal landscape. With his initiation into the family, Bellomo entered a world where violence and power ruled supreme. Under the watchful eye of Genovese boss Vincent Gigante, Bellomo quickly rose through the ranks, showcasing his cunning and loyalty. His reputation as a skilled enforcer and strategist began to spread, earning him the respect and fear of his peers. As Liborio Bellomo's power within the Genovese crime family grew, so did his involvement in a wide range of criminal activities. From labor racketeering to extortion, his influence extended far beyond the confines of the underworld. One of Bellomo's notable endeavors was his participation in labor racketeering. He used his connections and influence to extort payoffs from construction unions, ensuring that his criminal enterprise had a firm grip on the industry. Through intimidation and manipulation, he controlled the flow of money and resources, solidifying his power and wealth. As the years went by, Bellomo became a trusted confidant and right-hand man to Vincent Gigante, positioning himself as the logical successor to the aging boss. It seemed that nothing could stand in his way as he solidified his grip on power within the Genovese crime family. But fate had other plans for Bellomo. In 1996, he was indicted on a series of charges under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, including murder, extortion, and labor racketeering. This marked a turning point in his life as he faced the full force of the law and the consequences of his actions. In 1997, the prosecution offered him a chance to plead guilty to extorting payoffs from a construction union and a garbage hauling company. Bellomo accepted the plea deal, resulting in a 10-year prison sentence. While serving his sentence, Bellomo faced yet another indictment in 2001. This time, he was accused of money laundering, a charge directly linked to the Genovese family's involvement in the waterfront rackets and control of the International Longshoremen's Association, ILA. However, he managed to avoid the most severe consequences by accepting a plea deal for lesser charges. This decision pushed back his scheduled release date in 2004, prolonging his time behind bars. But the story doesn't end there. In 2006, Bellomo faced yet another indictment, this time on racketeering charges. He was specifically charged with ordering the 1998 murder of Ralph Coppola, the acting captain of his crew and a close friend. With insufficient evidence to press the murder charge against Bellomo, the government offered him a plea bargain for mail fraud in 2007. Bellomo accepted the deal, receiving one additional year in prison instead of the 4 he could have faced. On December 1, 2008, after serving his time, he was finally released, ready to reclaim his place in the criminal underworld. His release marked a new chapter in his life, one that would test his ability to navigate a changed landscape and regain his former power. While Bellomo's time in prison had undoubtedly taken its toll, his reputation as a formidable figure within the Genovese crime family remained intact. His return to the streets of New York City sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld as rival factions and law enforcement agencies closely monitored his every move. What lies ahead for this enigmatic figure? Will he reclaim his position as a leader within the Genovese crime family, or will new challengers emerge to challenge his authority? One thing is certain, Liborio Bellomo's story is far from over. His life, filled with shocking events, legal battles, and imprisonment, has left an indelible mark on the annals of organized crime. As he continues to navigate the treacherous waters of the criminal underworld, his legacy as a feared and influential figure remains intact. John Willis, born and raised in the working-class neighborhood of Dorchester, Massachusetts, Willis had a tumultuous childhood. His father left the family when he was just 2 years old, leaving him and his mother to navigate life on their own. Tragedy struck when Willis was 14 years old, as his mother suddenly passed away, leaving him to fend for himself. It was during this vulnerable vulnerable time that Willis found himself working as a bouncer at a bar in Boston, a place frequented by Chinese crime figures. Little did he know that this seemingly ordinary job would be the catalyst for his extraordinary journey. One fateful night, Willis intervened in a fight on behalf of a Chinese gangster named Vapeng John Joe. Impressed by Willis's bravery, Joe handed him a card with a number written on it, urging him to call if he ever needed anything. Little did Willis know that this small act of kindness would forever change the course of his life. Facing financial struggles and in desperate need of a place to stay, Willis eventually made the call. To his surprise, he was taken in by a Chinese gang known as Ping An. Multiple reports suggest that Willis was adopted by a Chinese family linked to the gang, providing him with a sense of belonging he had longed for. As Willis became more deeply involved in gang life, he was sent to New York to work as a bodyguard and bagman for a Chinese gangster operating in the city. It was during his time in New York that Willis began to immerse himself in the Chinese culture. His language skills not only helped him communicate with his Chinese counterparts, but also became a powerful tool in his rise within the Chinese organized crime hierarchy. Intriguingly, Willis's journey didn't stop there. He went on to learn Vietnamese, further expanding his linguistic repertoire. With each language he mastered, Willis solidified his position within the Chinese Mafia, gaining respect and influence among his peers. After honing his skills and gaining fluency in multiple languages, Willis returned to Boston, where he was assigned to work for a mid-level gangster named Bai Ming. However, fate had other plans for Willis. A violent turf war erupted within the Chinese underworld, leaving Bai Ming as the most prominent gangster standing in Boston's Chinatown. As Bai Ming's second-in-command, Willis found himself at the center of the chaos. The Chinese turf war was a battle for control and dominance, with rival factions vying for power and territory. Amidst the bloodshed and power struggles, Willis proved himself to be a formidable force, displaying cunning tactics and unwavering loyalty to Bai Ming. His strategic mindset and ability to navigate the treacherous underworld earned him the respect and admiration of his peers. As the dust settled, Willis emerged as a key figure in the Chinese organized crime scene in Boston. His rise to power was nothing short of extraordinary, considering he was the first white man to achieve such a position within this insular world. The nickname Bakwai John or White Devil John became synonymous with his name, a testament to his unique status and the shockwaves he sent through the criminal underworld. The Chinese turf war in Boston was a turning point in Willis's criminal career. It propelled him to new heights of power and influence, cementing his status as a formidable figure within the Chinese organized crime hierarchy. Following his rise within the Chinese organized crime hierarchy, Willis became entangled in a web of illicit activities. His thirst for power and wealth led him down a dangerous path as he delved into the world of drug trafficking and money laundering, going against the wishes of his Chinese organized crime peers. While serving time for extortion, Willis orchestrated an OxyContin trafficking ring that operated between Florida and Massachusetts. Willis trafficked over 260,000 pills, generating profits of more than $4 million, although he claims the numbers were even higher. With his newfound wealth, Willis indulged in a lavish lifestyle, splurging on oceanfront homes in South Florida, sports cars, strip clubs, and speedboats. However, his extravagant lifestyle and involvement in the drug trade did not go unnoticed by law enforcement. In August 2013, the law finally caught up with Willis. He was convicted of drug trafficking and money laundering for his role in the lucrative OxyContin drug ring. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and he was sentenced to a staggering 20 years in prison. Enjoyed the video and crave more excitement? Stay tuned by clicking on any of the cards on your screen right now for more thrilling content.